everybody, and welcome back to Rework It, the stream with me and the wonderful Jesús Ramirez. Hi, Jesús. How's it going?
Hey, Kladi, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm a little cold here. I'm streaming actually from Manchester, UK, where it's 11 p.m. What about you, Jesús?
I am in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's 3 p.m. And it's the last stream of the day today.
Yes, it is. We're here keeping you company. And let us know in the chat, where are you from and what time it is. Ciao, Steve. I can see you in the chat. So many lovely familiar faces. Michelle Fournier, Steve, Festus, RB, what's up? Biola is here. MEP, nice to see you. Also, oops, let me see if I can go up in the chat. Sam Peterson in the chat helping us with sharing all these wonderful, useful links. Alejandro Capellan is here. Sorry if I don't pronounce your name right. Biola, fantastic. I think we're ready to go. So let us know in the chat. Oh, I saw a lot of bananas. So it looks like there are like people from the banana cruise here joining us as well. If that's the first time that you're joining us and we sound so bonkers, we are. But also, we are talking about the banana cruise because both me and Jesús host other stream here during the wonderful Adobe Live. As Jesús mentioned, we are at the end of the day, but it's been a fun, busy, amazing day, full of challenges, creative challenges, and wonderful, inspiring stream here at Adobe Live. If you're watching from YouTube, make sure to tune in on behance.net/live so I can look at the chat, Jesús as well. We can read your comments and pass each other questions while we work. But let's get to this stream. So we're here and the stream is called Rework It because we're going to be reworking your artworks live. So I'm going to jump in real quick into my screen to show what is the Rework It about, because I actually noticed that the other day we were spending a little bit more time explaining how to submit. We got a lot of artworks coming through. So let me just remind you that in order to participate and to have your artwork featured during this stream, you have to submit your artwork at iamkladi.com/reworkit. This is the landing page that it will take you to your Rework It button where you can click on. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it on these big blue buttons where it says submit your design. Now, once you click on this big button, you have a very quick form that tells you pretty much to share your email so we can get back to you. And of course, click on upload your file so you can browse your folder and select your files. You can, if your file is perhaps very large and it doesn't allow to submit it, you can just submit a JPEG or a screenshot. So we just know what sort of work you're working on, and then we can ask you for an original file. Then you can put your name, your Behance profile, of course, data consent, and let us know which apps have you used. But most importantly, what is your questions? If you want to learn more, if you want to see another way of doing your color, to recolor your work. And I was actually thinking about the first submission that we have here. So I'm going to jump into your screen. Actually, before jumping into your screen, I'm actually going to share the wonderful artist that you see featured in the cover. We usually start with the image that gets also featured in the schedule, and he's Frank Baum, I guess. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Frank, I don't know if you're in the chat. Let us know
how to pronounce your last name.
Yes, so that's his wonderful Behance page. Make sure to go ahead and check it out. His link is behance.net/f-bomb, and here it is. And we see many wonderful work in Photoshop, also taking part to the Photoshop DCC. Now, Jesús, before we jump into your screen and we dive into Frank's work, I wanted to give a little bit of a quick shout out, as the person that was selected for today's Illustrator file didn't make it on time to share their file yet. So I have a little bit of a free slot, which I'm more than happy to use in order to show you some techniques with branding and logo design. But if you're here watching live and you want to take the chance right now, I'm happy to jump on in live. So use that form right now at iamkladi.com/reworkit to submit your Illustrator or InDesign file so I can rework it live. Just like that. You send it, I catch it, and we go. But for now, let's jump into Jesús' screen, and here I am. Here we are. Jesús, so can see each other twice. Here we are.
There we go.
Here we are, and we start with the lovely work from Frank. And Jesús, before you get started, I wanted to read you Frank questions. So Frank said that he was struggling with bringing accent with the zebra frame because the image was overall very warm, and he wasn't even sure about the color and if he got the ideal values. So if you could please share tips for color adjustment, color grading, color balance of the composition, will be great. So here we are.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. First of all, shout outs to your dad who's in the chat, Guido
Oh,
Virginia,
he's
ciao.
supposed to go to sleep. It's so late. It's 11. Ciao,
Yeah,
papa.
your dad's in the chat. Also, shout outs to Flynn Tracy in the chat. He's out of Sydney, Australia. He runs the Adobe Lives in the Asia Pacific YouTube channel for Adobe. So they do something similar. So make sure you check those streams out as well. I think it's like 10 in the morning in Sydney or something like that. So good morning, Flynn.
Good
Good to
morning.
see you. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this is first of all, Frank, you did a fantastic job on this composite. I saw so many good things that I kept thinking, what am I going to rework? Like everything is so good. So we're going to stick to the questions that you asked. But I want to point out a couple of things. Everybody, just take, I'm just going to undock my layers panel and I want you guys to see this. I mean, just look how beautiful this is. Everything is color coordinated. Everything has a name to it. See this? I mean, just it's amazing. And you're going to see the amount of detail that Frank put on this composite. I mean, just look at this. I just get so happy when I see organized PSD files like the ones that like, you know, when I see something like this, I'm just like, wow, amazing, amazing. So excellent, excellent job, Frank. And this is where everybody should aim to be in terms of layer organization. It's just like an excellent organized PSD. Also, Frank was kind enough to include this layer, which literally gives us all the information that we need, like what every color represent. Green is the background. See that? Green, background. Blue, zebra. Look at that. It's just amazing. So excellent. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you show us how to color label the layers? Because maybe, you know, not everybody knows how to do that.
Yeah,
and as
sure.
you say, it looks beautiful, but let's show how to do that. Flynn
Sure, no
says,
problem.
Flynn is saying 10 on 10 on naming layers.
Exactly. Definitely 10 on 10 on naming layers. Very easy. When you create a new layer, there's two ways of doing it, really. There's probably more, but there's at least two ways. You can right click on a layer and just select a color, red, for example, and that colors a layer. The same thing is true for a group. If you have a group and a layer inside of that group, when you color the group to, for example, blue, it'll turn the group and the layers inside of that group that particular color. Also, when you're creating a layer, if you hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and you click on the new layer icon, it'll bring up the new layer window. And from here, you can also color it, and you can also name it. So this could be like, I don't know, the sky or whatever you're working on, and you can apply a blending mode, and you can apply an opacity to that layer, all within this one dialog box. And actually, side note, if you're creating actions, this is how I would create a new layer for an action, just because it gives you more control and it's much neater for creating actions. When you press OK, you have the color there. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure you can probably colorize the layer maybe through one of these menus. I don't recall for sure, so we'll just forget about that. But at least those two options you can use to color your layers. So the question was about color grading, and let me expand the panel so that we can take a look at all the layers. So I think that you did an excellent job, Frank. The only issue that I see is that you had a check layer for black and white. You had a black and white adjustment layer to make everything into black and white, so that you can see the highlights and the shadows of the composite and make sure that everything matched. And you did a fairly good job. I still think that there's a little more contrast in the foreground and the background. That's okay. But I think that the biggest issue here is that you didn't think about saturation. I think that the main subject is much more highly saturated than the background. That could have been an aesthetic choice. I'm not sure if it works well, and I think that's why you had those questions about color grading. So I would just focus on properly saturating this composite. Just like you have a black and white adjustment layer here, you also can create a check layer that reveals the saturation in black and white. And I know it sounds weird, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. If you create a selective color adjustment layer, you can go into all the different colors, red through magentas, and bring down the black to -100. Do the same for the yellows. Do the same for the greens, and keep doing that over and over and over again until you get to the magentas. Once you get to the magentas, go into the tones, whites through black, and make those +100 on the blacks, on the black slider. And then when you're done, you're going to get a black and white image. Now, side note, once you do this once, make sure that you save this as a preset. See how I already have a saturation map preset there? So click on this icon and click on Save Selective Color Preset. I'll say my new one so you can see how it works, and I'll just call it Adobe, or actually call it Rework It. Gotta stay on brand.
Yep.
Rework It saturation map. You know, and then I can press save. So now if I were to start all over again and I create a selective color adjustment layer, you'll see the Rework It saturation map here. And what this adjustment layer is allowing me to do is to actually see the saturation in black and white. Let me create a hue and saturation adjustment layer so that you can see what you can do. If I increase the saturation, notice how the image looks brighter. So bright pixels means a lot of saturation. No saturation is black. So see, if I disable this, you can see that the image is now black and white. If I increase the saturation, the image will be bright again. And when I disable the selective color adjustment layer, you can see how highly saturated that image is. So you can use this saturation map to see what the image looks like in terms of saturation. So notice how his shirt is very bright. It's probably the brightest thing in the scene. And I think that's why you were having those color grading issues. So see, when we deselect the selective color adjustment layer, we disable the selective color adjustment layer, you can see that the shirt is very, very bright. See that? So, or saturated, also very bright when we enable this. So I think that's part of the issue. And if I scroll down to figure out how you created that shirt, let me see. Here it is. I think that's it. Yeah, you use the hard light adjustment, and that one's gonna oversaturate your image. If you were to use something like overlay or soft light, it will be much more subtle. You can even try using the color adjustment, either or. I think I kind of like overlay. It still has a lot of saturation, but not as much as the previous adjustment. You can also bring down the opacity if need be. But I think that we've been able to target the area that was, notice how the shirt's not that bright anymore. So that's what that allows you to do. And we were able to target the area with a lot of saturation and reduce it so that it more closely resembles the composite. Also, everything you're seeing is very saturated, but I don't think that this thing back here is saturated. And what did you call it? I know you gave it a name. The
You better stick to the right label now.
Yeah. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. Let me just find it and see where it is. Is it here? Zebra frame. Yep, you called it zebra frame. There it is. So what I would recommend is maybe increasing the saturation of this. So I see that you have a shadow there, so I'll probably create the vibrance adjustment layer below that shadow so that it doesn't affect your shadow, but I could increase the vibrance and maybe even the saturation if it needs a little bit of a boost. But I just think that it was not as saturated as the rest of the scene, so I would increase the saturation on that as well. Also, regarding color grading, you could also try the new color grading feature in Camera Raw. You have a lot of layers, so I probably wouldn't put this on a smart object just because of the amount of layers, and also I'm not sure what the capabilities for your computer are. So instead of putting it all into a smart object, what I'm going to do is select the topmost layer, press Control Alt Shift E, Command Option Shift E on the Mac, and that creates a new layer with all the layers below merge onto it. So it's a way of merging without losing your layers. If you and again, the keyboard shortcut is Control Alt Shift E, Command Option Shift E on the Mac. And if you forget, just slam your forehead up against the keyboard. I'm sure you'll hit those keys. You have to basically use all your fingers to use that keyboard shortcut. But anyway, so then I can call this layer Final, and I can right click on it and convert it into a smart object, because even though it's a flattened layer, we want to be able to edit the adjustments that we make onto that smart object. In case you don't know, a smart object is a container that allows you to hold one or more layers, and you can apply editable adjustments, distortions, filters, and transformations. That means you can come back and make changes at any time. So I'm going to go into filter, camera, raw, filter, and there's a brand new feature in Photoshop called the color grading panel. This replaces the old duotone panel and split toning panel. Is it called split? I already forgot split toning or duotone. Either or, it does the same thing. But the point is that now you have a three-way triangle to adjust the image. And actually, just to make things easier to understand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new document. The size doesn't matter. And I'm just going to create a gradient that goes from black to white, like so. And actually, I want a linear gradient, not a radial gradient, like so. That way you understand how this tool works. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the camera raw filter to this, and you can see how this is going to work. So if you go back into the color grading panel, you have your three controls, and we have the shadows, midtones, and highlights. So I can apply a color to the shadows. We'll say blue. See how the shadows are blue now? Now I can apply color to the midtones. So let's make the midtones green. See how the midtones are green now? And I can apply a different color to the highlights. We'll make them red. But you can see how I was able to color grade different tones in this image using these three sliders. Also, if you notice, black didn't become blue and white didn't become red or pink or whatever color we're trying to add here. And that's because we didn't adjust these sliders, the luminance sliders. If I adjust the luminance slider, notice that now I am making black into that dark blue. And the same thing will be true if I adjust the luminance slider for the highlights. And you can, of course, adjust the luminance for the midtones as well. The blending option allows you to just blend the transitions smoother together. See that? See how I'm just blending these transitions? So essentially, I'm just increasing or decreasing the amount in the center for the midtone. See that? And the balance, if you go into the negative values, you increase the effect that you apply on the shadows. And if you go into the positive values, you increase the effect that you apply on the highlights. And you can double click on these circles to reset them to default. Just like you can double click on a slider to set it to default. If you, actually I should have not set it to default because I wanted to show you one other thing. Let me just quickly make an adjustment. Also, we have this global adjustment, and that global adjustment applies a color grade to your original image or a global color grade to the previous color grade that you applied. So now if I wanted to apply, say, an overall, yellow color grade on top of what I had before, you can do that by using this adjustment. See that? See how I'm just applying this global color grade on top of the previous one. So this tool gives you a lot of control on how you color grade your image. So now let's go back into your working document. If you go into filter, camera raw filter, you can now apply that same theory to this. In this case, you're using pretty much one, the image is pretty much warm, so I wouldn't introduce too many other hues. So I would keep everything in the yellows in both the highlights and shadows, maybe experiment with the color in the midtones, but that's totally up to you. And you can increase or decrease the saturation, something I didn't mention earlier. If you hold the control key on Windows, the command key on the Mac, you lock the hue so that you don't adjust saturation, and you can just select the color that you want. And if you hold shift, you lock the saturation so that you cannot adjust the hue, and just make adjustments accordingly. Totally up to you. In this case, I probably wouldn't make any adjustments to the midtone, so I'll reset that and just adjust these accordingly, the highlights and shadows, and then play around with the luminance there. One thing I would do is go into the color mixer and then maybe increase the saturation for the blues and maybe even the purples to adjust the zebra background that you had here, this frame, just so that it pops up against them more. Maybe even adjust the luminance on that as well, and you can decide what works better for for your image, maybe something a little bit more saturated, but at the same time, a little lighter. And also I would probably add a vignette to this just to center him a little more. I'm not going to add grain, and I know that for those of you that watch the stream know that I like adding grain to everything, but the reason I'm not going to add grain is because you already did that. I noticed that you had a overall noise layer here. So let me zoom in so that you can show people what you did here. Let me zoom out. I don't want to see the pixel grid. Right about here, before and after. So you already added grain. I would have done it in Camera Raw, but you know, if you can do it with a noise layer like you did there as well. The reason that I like using Camera Raw is because you can get a lot more control. Usually when I talk about this on the streams, I usually just add, you know, grain and tell people, all right, just add a little bit of grain, make everything more cohesive, and, you know, things look pretty good. But something I don't talk about very often is the different types of grain that you can add. If you click on this down pointing arrow, you get more control on the grain, and you can increase the size, the roughness. So you can really get different types of grain for your composites to make it look the way that you want it to look. But anyway,
That's pretty
and
cool.
also that,
Sorry, sis, to interrupt you, but first of all, there is a lot of love for Frank work, and Frank just joined right now in the chat. He say, "Hi everyone, sorry to be late. Frank, you missed all the compliments that we've been showering you with." Very well done. Now, hopefully you'll be able to go and watch the replay, but we're really loving your work. I think we've done a fantastic work. As Sue says, already spent pretty much this first half an hour to talk about it, and hopefully you're gonna be watching on the replay. And I'm being super quiet because in the meantime Biola is sent at work to record work live, so I'm just kind of like, you know, trying to put everything together before talking about it as well. But sorry for interrupting you, Jesus, and maybe you can also, before finishing, give like a little bit of a like, you know, just go over everything that you've done so far, just briefly for Frank, since he's here.
Yeah, no problem. Basically, Frank, all I was saying is that the image, it started out by being, in my opinion, overly saturated. I showed how to create a saturation map. You can rewatch the video if you don't know what that is, and then kind of match the saturation a little bit better. And then I went over and started showing how you can use a new color grading feature in Camera Raw to sort of, you know, make it feel more cohesive and have the right amount of saturation. And actually, I think I oversaturated the oranges. So what I would probably do there is go back into Camera Raw and be careful with oversaturating things. So, oops, that's the wrong slider. Let me go to the right slider, saturation, maybe desaturate the oranges a little more. But anyway, I think that you guys get the idea. One thing I would suggest, though, that it wasn't in your questions that I noticed, something that I would definitely consider doing is on the zebra print that you have here. By the way, you did an excellent job in matching it, but I wouldn't do it as a single unit like you did here. I would actually break it up into different pieces. So for example, I would have this piece just offset it a little bit so it doesn't completely match the other piece. And I would select the curvature pen tool, make sure I have a path selected, and just look at the seams of the article of clothing that the person is wearing, like, you know, the sleeve, for example. You will see a seam, and obviously I'm going quickly here, so do take your time when you're doing this. But the point is that once you have that area isolated, you can convert it into a vector mask. You can hold Control and Windows, Command and the Mac with a path active, and now you have a vector path. And I can delete the layer mask. I don't need a layer mask for this. And I can also unlink it. So the reason that we're doing this is so, oops, let me make sure that I load my vector path as a selection, and then on this layer mask, I'll fill with black. And the reason that I'm doing this is so that the pattern doesn't match exactly. If you really think about an article with clothing with a pattern, the pattern wouldn't match exactly on the seam. And also, you can use displacement maps or whatever you want to distort this. Something that I'll use just to make it a little bit faster is I will use the Liquify tool. So I can go into Filter, Liquify, and I can zoom in and make sure that my pressure is fairly low, around 23-ish or so. And I can make my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm just gonna drag up here where you have these creases. like so. And then maybe make even more creases here where it's connecting to the shirt, because it's going to wrinkle up a lot there. And just look for areas that have a lot of wrinkles and make sure that you adjust them accordingly, maybe even increase the pressure just to go a little bit faster. But the point is that, you know, these wouldn't be so perfect on the wrinkles and creases of the shirt. So when you're done, you have something that looks like this, before and after. And most importantly, it's not going to be a perfect transition between the sleeve and the pattern on the other side of the shirt. So I think that you just need to spend a little time and go there and make sure that you isolate the different parts of his shirt. In this case, you probably can get away with 3. Actually, well, not counting the bottom part. The bottom part will be separate, but you can do one for the sleeve.
Isn't it like
another
floating the bottom? Like
yeah, the bottom part is floating, right? So you don't have to worry about that. But on the top part, I would do the sleeve, the other sleeve, and then the torso, and then do a similar technique. It looks really white now because I was, you know, messing with the colors and stuff like that. So you had a separate adjustment. Let me double click on here. You used a blend if adjustment, so maybe reduce the blend if or whatever you need to do to bring back some of that detail, but you can adjust it any way that you want. Also, consider changing the blending mode. You're using multiply, but maybe try something like linear burn and then bring down the fill. So it will give you just a slightly different result. It won't be completely black. You see, when I bring down the fill, it makes it like a dark red. So just bring down the fill a little bit. And the difference between bringing down the fill and the opacity is just that opacity just keeps it sort of black. But with this blending mode, if you bring down the fill, you get a different result. And I think it might work better in this case. It's just off black, almost black, something like that. And you can experiment to see what works best, and maybe black works best. I'm not sure. Let me see. How much more time do I have, Kladi?
Just a couple minutes. Frank is saying great tips. Thank you so much, Jesus. So that's super, super cool. And also, we're talking about zebra versus zebra, and RB came back with braided instead of...
He came back with what?
Braided, which is like the way that I will write it, because I'm dyslexic, and I will 100% write braids instead of zebras. So it's literally swapped. And Steve is saying, are we cooking now? I love the randomness of the chat. That's like... Something that I wanted to ask, Jesus, I don't know if it's possible or not. You're maybe going to kill me for that. I wanted to ask the chat, because I was actually thinking like it'll be super cool to change the colors of the zebra pattern. So we sort of keep the zebra pattern, but then maybe we can introduce a different color on it. Is that possible? There is any color that you think in chat will be a good, maybe to make it like a deeper purple, or maybe a turquoise, something colder, blue. You know what I mean? Like the stripe of the zebra being changed. And let us know in the chat if you have a color and I'm talking about the one in the background, not the one on the t-shirt.
Oh, okay. Let's see. The one in the background. Let me see how it was made. I'm not sure how it was colored.
And by the way, while the Sue says I look at that, Frank, I wanted to mention that the first thing that he talked about, it wasn't the color, but it was about how organized you were with the file. It's actually been a huge round of applause because of the way that you color match, and you also have provided a layer with the instructions. So we were just in awe for the first minute.
I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can change the color. Using a color fill layer allows you to select the color. I mean, I think the purple works well. I wouldn't really change it to
because I was thinking turquoise. I was thinking just to bring like a little bit of a difference.
I mean, let's try it. So.
And let us know in the chat. Maybe I'm just saying something that is completely out of match, but I was thinking that introducing a contrast color would be good. Let us know if you think that a colder color will work.
Let me see what the chat is saying.
Sam Peterson saying, I thought I was pretty organized, but he's got the color coding going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah,
and the layer with the with the instructions.
Yeah. No, I would stick to what you had originally. I kind of like that. I think those colors work well. The only thing that I did earlier was just simply enhance it a little bit, and I think that works well. I mean, I guess you could here, how about we change it this way? This is totally not the way you should do it, but we're gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna select with the color picker
I just
tool.
want to see it with a turquoise, please. Or blue.
Let me just increase the range here. Something like this.
I really like it, although Sam is saying I like the purple quite a bit. Michelle is saying, thanks to you, Jesús Ramirez. Now I know with many layers, why with many layers and groups I was having problems trying to put them in a smart object.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I think it's time to change screen.
Let me say one last thing.
Yeah, of course.
Here's a feature that I don't see a lot of people using. But it came out, I believe, 2 years ago, a year ago, maybe. No, definitely 2 years ago. The point is that you can go into view, and you can flip horizontal, and this temporarily flips the image over, and sometimes that helps you see the composite in a new way. It's much like drawing. For those of you that used to draw or took art classes, like one of the tricks that they used to tell you to do is like flip your paper upside down and look at it, because you'll see like your mistakes. This is a good way of like looking at the composite in a new way, so you can perhaps spot mistakes that you didn't see before. The view, flip horizontal. Now in the past, what people used to do is go into image rotation and flip canvas horizontal. The difference is that flipping the canvas horizontally will change your pixels. You're actually transforming pixels. The view is simply flipping the preview. So if you close the file, save it, and open it back up again, it's going to open up in the regular view, not the flip view. If you flip the pixels on the transformation here, you will rotate the pixels or rotate the image, and depending on the size of your file and your computer's processing power, that could also take some time. So make sure that you use the view menu instead and flip it horizontal when need be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Oh, cool. Sam is saying that he's got the that's a very good tip there, Sam. He's saying that he has this featured a hotkey using a keyboard shortcut to because he uses it constantly. In case you don't know how to do that, you can go into the keyboard shortcuts menu here, and then you can go under view, and maybe Sam can tell us what key he assigned to it or what keyboard shortcut he assigned to it, but you can find it in here. Where is it? Flip horizontal, and then you can just use your own keyboard shortcuts. So for example, I know that N is not, oh, am I using it for something else? I'm just gonna do Control N. Oh no, Control N is new. I don't know, I can't even think of a shortcut that's not being used right now. It's an embellish, please use many command. Okay.
Maybe like Shift Plus. I don't know.
No, that's a shortcut as well. I'm trying to think of something that is not a shortcut. N is not a shortcut, but I guess they want me to use a
What about what a Control N? Is Control N a shortcut?
Control S, a new document.
Of course. It's
But
just that
anyway,
I never use Control. I use Command. So for me, Control has got nothing to do with, with
Right.
shortcuts.
You can use your own keyboard shortcut that you come up with, and use it for that. And then when you press that keyboard shortcut,
Maybe
it will
Sam
flip
can give us an
automatically.
idea. What are you using, Sam?
Yeah, that's what I thought I asked him earlier if what he used. I don't know if it's because of, oh, here you go. I assigned Control
Plus T. Oh.
Wait. Control T. Isn't Control T like to transform? Or what do you?
Oh, because he
Oh,
never
you-
uses the default.
Right.
So it's changing the default.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you can change your thing. For example, if you like, here's one. If you press Control M, it brings up the curves adjustment. But this is like like an actual curves adjustment. It's just like going into into image adjustment and curves, and you can see the shortcut there, Control M. But you can change it to like instead do like a layer, new adjustment layer, and curves. So then when you press Control M, the curves will come up as opposed to the adjustment, or the adjustment layer will come up as opposed to just a regular adjustment. So yeah, there's ways that you can customize your keyboard shortcuts.
So Paul Trani Steve is telling us that Paul Trani says to use all the three commands, Command Alt.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yep, I didn't think about that. Yeah, good tip, Paul.
Oh, Command Alt Control is not. That's not possible. You cannot do Command Control Alt. Maybe it's like
No,
Shift.
I mean Control Alt, and
Oh,
Shift.
okay. Oh, Shift. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that was it. All right, fantastic. Well, I love that we're like geeking out here with shortcuts and going a little bit even deeper with learning how to use Photoshop. Thank you so much, Jesus. And
are you ready to go?
yes, I'm ready to go. I'm actually like turning
Awesome.
off my email because I had it open until now just to make sure that if someone had any specific questions. We had a submission from Biola. I'm gonna actually, before we change my page, here we are. Let me just try to get into my screen. By the way, it's just like I heard a little like humph on your mic. Was that your kitty there? I was hoping for Kitty to show up today.
Oh, actually, you know what? He fell asleep right behind me.
Oh, baby. We know. I'm just sharing with the chat because when we were setting up, we had a Mr. Meow, which is Jesus kitty, being like around the table, so I could see his face, and I was like, Jesus, what's that shadow? Hide the mic. And it's like, no, it's the kitty.
Yeah, the kitty was just he was like sitting like right here, and you couldn't like if you were sleeping here, you wouldn't be able to see him unless he like woke up and lifted up his head.
Aw, Mr.
So that was
Meow.
that was the original plan, that he was gonna do the entire stream sleeping in front of me, but then he decided to sleep behind me. I guess we were too loud for him.
Oh,
And yeah,
baby boy, Mr. Meow.
great work, Frank. Excellent work.
Yeah, I just literally just switched again on Frank's page.
Yeah,
so
and make sure that you follow Frank on Behance. If you don't mind posting his link in the chat, Sam, that'd be awesome.
Sam has already done it before, as usual, super amazing. But I also
Thank you
have
so
it
much, Sam.
here, behance.net/f. Boom. Frank, how do we pronounce your last name? Please let us know. And
Yeah.
Sam is saying, shout out to Mr. Meow. Yeah, Mr. Meow, try to bring it up. Bring it upstairs.
Kitty, come here, baby. He's like, he like literally just looked at me with the meanest face. He's sleeping.
It's like, let me sleep. Okay, I won't bother.
No, he's
We
just
won't
looking at me
bother him.
so mean now.
It's like you just woke me up. You mean people. Right,
Yeah.
fantastic. So I'm going to jump right in, and this is going to be like live because I just literally download the file, and I'm sorry if I was a little busy, but of course, as I mentioned, the other amazing artist, which hopefully we can feature tomorrow, hasn't had the chance to send the correct file yet. So whatever we were planning to do, but that's the beauty of the live. We have here our lovely Biola sharing with us her work, and that's her behance.net/sbiola6939, and I'm gonna just zoom in a little quick so you can see it. And as you can see, Biola has done a lot of work in terms of editorials, publications, flyers, business card. So we actually have a work that is not featured yet here. So well done. This book cover and layout, it looks, oh, how keto can work. Keto, I think it's keto is English. So we can see some of her work here. I really love this work. Biola, I know you're in chat. Is that a mock-up or real photos? It looks, I love the colors. It looks very nice. But the actual, oh, Frank is saying, say it as you want it. No, but we want to say it right. Although I admit that I mispronounce a lot of a lot of names and a lot of words and a lot of S's in general when I talk with my Italian English. Biola, don't be sorry. That what is the problem here? We have a lot of wonderful work. What I would suggest is maybe just to keep the work that you really like and the work that you want to be hired for. That's something that I always try to recommend, and I'm actually going to take a second here to remind you of that. Remember that to publish the work that you want to be hired for. I used to, when I started, put there all the work that I had just to, you know, look that I was busy or to show that I was busy. That's not the right way to go, because if you have right there something that you're not happy with or you're not proud of, most likely that's what you're going to be hired to do again. So you're going to get stuck with job that you don't like. And we know that at least me and Jesus always say that our biggest perks in doing this job is it's driven by passion. So make sure that you share work that you're passionate about, that you love and that you want to do. So you're gonna be, that's what people are gonna look at, and that's what people are gonna be hiring you for. Majesty saying, hi everyone, it's midnight in France and I don't think I'll be able to follow the entire stream. Don't worry, Majesty, you can always watch the replay. Fantastic. So let's jump into InDesign, and I will take also sometimes to share some template before the end of the stream. So we're gonna look at Biola link. And by the way, Biola, thank you so much for sharing and jumping in live to sharing your work. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
And again, like 10 minutes before we go, I want to show you something that I created, which is super free, available for you online, and it's got to do with both Illustrator and InDesign, which was something that I was preparing just in case we didn't have any file to rework. And I'm just kind of like pulling my jumper up here, so we are ready to work. Fantastic. So first thing that I do when I open this file is that I can see that the images are not embedded. Now, Biola has done a fantastic job in terms of sharing a package. And if you don't know how to share a package, you can go on the File menu and select Package, or use the shortcut, again, like I believe RB was saying, using your feet and your hand in order to select the Shift-Alt-Command-P in order to, Option. I've been working with Mac and and Windows, so Alt Option. So is a Shift Option command if you're on a Mac. And Sus, are you trying to get the kitty out?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him over.
Because we can actually see you there. You're taking photo of the kitty. Hiding under the table. Yes. Yeah. So I was saying, if you click on Package or use the shortcut Shift Option Command P, you'll be able to bring up the package window that will allow you to include links and images and font. And I know that Biola has created a file, but I was downloading it. Again, the beauty of the live, I just opened the InDesign file and the images are showing up, but they're no high resolution. Look, if I zoom in, you can see that they are slightly pixelated because they are unlinked. If you also see your images pixelated and you wonder what's going on, and maybe you don't know how to do it, all you have to do is to jump onto the window menu and click on links to bring up your links panel. In the links panel, that's where the links live. All the links that belong to your document lives within the link panel. Now, what I could do is click on each one of these links, and first of all, you can go to the link, which shows you where the link is located, or update the link. And here it is. It looks like my computer is actually finding the links that Biola has added, just like so. So see, all I'm doing is clicking on update. And because Biola has created a package file, now that I've downloaded on my computer, is actually picking it up. You can also click on one file, hold Shift and click on the bottom in order to select more than one file. Or you can use Command on Mac, Control on Windows to select just maybe you just want this one, you don't want the one in the middle. So to select individual, but then pile them up, but without going from the top on the bottom. So remember, if you select the first and then you hold Shift and you go to the bottom, everything in between also will be added to the selection. If you want to select individual items that perhaps they have gaps in the middle, use the Command key on a Mac, Control Windows in order to selectively add them to your general selection. In this case, I'm happy to add them, all of them. And again, click on this little, like a recycle little double arrow up to update the link. And here they are, they're updated. Oops, one more. Here we go. So you can also, as I said, click on the go to link, which shows you where the link is actually located into the document right away. So you can double check the state of your link. Also, something that is very important in order not to have to update your links over and over is to embed your links. Usually when I do a stream or share or I work, I always forget to share these tips because it's something that I do. I have it like on my checklist of things to do before I export a document. But this is the best, that's the perfect way here every work to use this time to share these tips. So it looks like I actually ended up in one of the master pages. Yes. Here we go, which by the way, fantastic work using master pages. We're going to talk about that in a second. But if you want to go back into your links panel, what I was suggesting is to click on the first one, hold Shift and click on the last one. So you select all of them and then head on the little flyout menu on the top of the panel and select Embed Link. And as you can see, a little image will appear next to the link. In that case, whenever you share your file, the images now become part of your file, InDesign file. So even if you don't package it and you share it via email or on Dropbox or on WeTransfer, whatever way you want, your file are actually going to be embedded within your document, so are going to be part of your document. Now, every time that you update or change a file, if you wanted to perhaps change it to something else, you can always relink it. So again, you can click on the file, and I'm going to zoom out, and you can click on the little link file if you wish to relink it. So use the same placeholder, the same frame, but swap it with another file. So if I click here on relink, a folder will come up, and I can browse any other file that I could perhaps use instead of that. So that was a little error that came up when opening the file, but it was actually a fantastic opportunity to learn a little bit more about the file itself and how to links file. So hopefully that's clear. Make sure to embed your file. That's super useful, especially when you work with a printer and you send your file to print. You want to make sure that nothing gets left behind before exporting your file. That's part of the checklist that I have on the side of my desk. Right, fantastic. Then another little things that I wanted to talk about here, just with a quick look at the document, is that I'm a big fan or go bold or go home. And what I mean with that is that you either do something for a reason or you don't do it at all. And in this case, I'm talking about this little space here between the typography and the image. It looks like that there is not much breathing space. So if you go close, maybe go big, overlap, and just be bold and do it and stretch it and create an image that really is overlapping into your typeface, and make it place it on the back, or just find a way to make it interact with the typography if that's your goal, if that's what you want to do to make the image interact with the typography. Otherwise, make sure to use a spacing that allows a little bit of division between the content, and that's in order to help your reader to understand the document better by allowing them breathing space. So look what happened here. For example, I'm gonna make this image smaller, and actually what I will do before I make it smaller is to select it and go next to the other icon, and now I can shrink it. And by the way, I'm shrinking the image using the shortcut Shift and Command, so I can shrink the frame and at the same time the image. And what I've done here, I have located the two images next to each other, and I can also bring up my ruler by pressing Command R. If you don't have them, they are up here, and bring the ruler down. Here it is on the top, and then use another ruler down at the bottom, so you can actually roughly see the size of the image there, and then resize the bounding box of the other image so it is the same size. And then I will do the same with these little pages here as well, because again, to me, in InDesign, as much as in any other artwork, there needs to be some rules, as we've seen before with the layers. It's nice to keep consistency in the design, and that also helps so much the user eye to have a better understanding of the document. I'm a big fan of Gestalt. Gestalt is a psychology of perception, and there is one of the principles of Gestalt that let us know that proximity, so elements that are closer to each other, belong to a group. So if I know that all these images are the same size, that are in the same column and have the same distribution, I know, oh, okay, so that's gonna tell me something. That's gonna be some images, and whatever is below is gonna be the description, and that's the title. So you first of all are allowing some breathing space, and the document looks a little bit more organized, and you make sure that it looks neater. Same here, I will perhaps double click on this little typeface and make sure that I go into the leading, which is the space between lines, and I'll just make it a little bit smaller. Usually it's like about 1 point more than the type. The type is 24, so 25 is more than enough. And I will perhaps center this type as well. Now, I didn't have the time to see if you used paragraph style, but this will be a great way to use a paragraph style. And it looks like you have it here, infographic text. So I could have just done, let's see if I can actually access these infographic text. I'm going to click on the paragraph style, goes to basic formats, and change the leading to 25 points and the size to 24, and change the alignment to center.
Kladi, I just want to say a couple things. Number one is Minucha Volkov is saying, "Hi Kladi, your tips are amazing. I'm seriously taking notes." Mercurial Forte is saying this is very helpful. I find InDesign to be a big, scary mystery.
No, it's not. InDesign is lovely. By the way, I can see that we got a couple minutes and it looks like my InDesign actually froze or my computer froze. Let me see if I can jump into another document
Can
and
you
then jump back. Oh no, unexpectedly quit. Let's reopen it.
what do you want to show that? Can you open up a browser and show your
Yeah,
Illustrator?
I was actually gonna show something else. So in the meantime, while InDesign reopens, let's jump back into the browser. And what I wanted to show is that I've actually created for everyone that wants and needs it, a free branding bundle that has Photoshop files, InDesign file, and Illustrator files. So the free branding bundle will allow you to first of all, understand what a branding is. I also added a branding glossary with all the most important definition about brands, so you can communicate and educate your clients, or you can understand your art director and what your colleagues better. Also, I added a template for a sale of services, because when you start as a designer, or when you start as a freelance, it's important to protect your work and make sure that you work with a contract, because I'm sure, Jesús, I don't know about you, but I definitely been over and over in situations where I've done the work, I wasn't sure, I didn't know what to do, so I decided to share that with you. Here you can also find a brand platform that will help you to gather all the most important information from your client, and then mood board developments in InDesign. So you got a ton. I'm not gonna go through all because there's so many. As you can see, logo development in Illustrator, and more files here in also InDesign, and included a mockup in Photoshop. We're over
cool.
yet. We have like about probably 10 more minutes, and InDesign
No,
is
we have
open
about
again.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you for saying it. So yeah, this is one of the files that I also added, which is an InDesign file. And
Ruth is saying that she wants to see the cat. I'll see if I can grab him and
yeah, please,
and
that
bring-
sounds good, Mr. Meow. In the meantime, here, that's one of the documents that I shared with you. It will allow you to use InDesign, and as you can see, it already gives you an idea what I was talking in terms of breathing space. Biola, that's something that I will suggest to add to your design as well. So have a little bit more of an understanding of the space. Now that you got your file here,
Okay,
I can see.
Relax, Kitty. Relax.
As soon as we can see you shouting.
That wasn't that good of an idea. He freaked out.
We're gonna break Jesús studio in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's gonna break my computer.
You woke him up. So
yeah, welcome. Come here, Kitty.
as I was saying here, you used a grid and you added a grid to your layout, but it doesn't look like you took advantage of it. So the first thing that I will do is to make sure that the gutter here is a little bit bolder. I don't know if you've added, it doesn't look like you added the grids. Maybe they are into the master. Yeah. So if I go into layout and then create guides, the first thing that I will do is to remove the current guides. And then I'm gonna try to add something like 6 rows, and I'm just doing like a generic number. I don't know exactly how many row and columns you had, but I will definitely bring up this gutter, which is the space in between the columns and the rows, in order to allow the grids to help you to keep this space. So for example, I'm just gonna change your file here just a tad, but like if you keep this over here following the grids and just kind of move your elements of the design following the grids, so we actually have a little bit more of breathing space between the top and the bottom, and everything start to make a little bit more of sense within the design. So we're going to use the grid for the images as well, so we know that every frame starts over here, and we can start to align them. My best advice is to really take advantage of the grids in order to make sure that all the file will be looking nice and neat. And again, if you want to align 3 objects just like so, maybe to the first one, remember that all you have to do is to click once in order to use the one that you want, that you have selected as a reference over here. And you can
Buddy,
do
just to let
also
you know, we
the
have
same.
30 seconds, give or take.
Oh, okay. Good.
Are you gonna share your Illustrator link or not?
Oh, yes, I completely forgot about it. So there is something else more to share.
30 seconds.
I got 30 seconds to share with all of you that I created a course with Illustrator. We're going to talk about it more tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to start and I'm going to talk about a little bit about more this course as well. If you go on edx.adobe.com and you search for Illustrator Bootcamp, you will see you're truly giving very, very intense Illustrator course, but also going from basics to master by learning how to create some stickers, menus, invitation. We go through so many different amazing projects here for both print and web. Oh my gosh, we got Mr. Meow at the end. We did it. This stream was absolutely bonkers. I hope you guys had fun. It's time to say goodbye, but don't forget that we're here at Rework It tomorrow. Talk a little bit more about the bootcamp or talk about the branding bundle, and of course we're gonna start again from Viola. But don't forget to submit your files and also send us your originals so we can rework it here and rework it with me and Jesús Ramirez. Remember to go on iamkladi.com/reworkit to submit your file. And I think that's everything for today. We got a tail. We got a Jesús with a tail. From me, Jesús, and Mr. Meow, it's everything for today. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.